It's the On Friar podcast brought to you by NBC 7. Much to discuss today, off day before Padres turn their attention to the Dodgers. We're at the quarter point of the season. Derek offered a few thoughts on what we've learned to this point. I did some crowdsourcing on Twitter after yesterday's game, got them to 2020, which seems fitting at this point of the season.
We're going to look at this with hindsight then? Is that how we're doing this?
Well, yeah, exactly. No, balancing the good and the bad. I asked folks, like, what has you most optimistic? What has you most worried from what we've seen? So we'll discuss both. I want to hit you with a prediction, Derek, something I just saw on Twitter.
Like these.
Xander Schauffele fires a 64. He has a 2-shot lead in the first round of the Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Here's my prediction. Xander Schauffele wins the Wells Fargo this weekend. As Xander Bogaerts starts to heat up, Xander polishes off the victory on Sunday. Xander hits a key home run in the finale against the Dodgers on Sunday. Xander Bogaerts turns it around. Xander Schauffele goes on to win his first career major this year.
You're half right.
What? Okay. Which half am I connecting on?
The golf half.
The golf half.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Schauffele's got to win a major at some point. His game is too good. He's been.
We
there
say the same thing
times.
about Xander Bogaerts. Xander has to get it together. He's too good. You talk about his athleticism. It's just got to happen.
It's, you know what though, then that's one of the things that I did in the article you're talking about. You can find on NBC7.com/onfriar. Is it's been 40 games. We're now outside of the small sample size part of this. You can't say that anymore. And I looked it up on the Baseball Savant page. He is the bottom 4% in all of Major League Baseball in hard hit and barrel barrel percentage. Like, nothing's coming off the bat with any kind of velocity whatsoever. Everything is down precipitously from his time in Boston, even from his first year in San Diego that was not up to his standards. He says he's not hurt. I almost wish he was at this point, because now I don't know how he gets out of this. Like, there's something legitimately seriously wrong. Even his sprint speed is down in the bottom 10%. Like, he's moving like an old man. It's wild that the body almost, remember, like, Peyton Manning was great in Denver until 2015. All of a sudden he like fell off a cliff.
Throw. Yeah. Couldn't throw more than 15 yards.
You know, he lost his starting job to Brock Osweiler. It almost looks like that's happened to Xander Bogaerts. I don't want to say that's the case. I don't think that's the case, but do we have any evidence to the contrary? I don't see it.
Brock Osweiler, who was the first big-time athlete I ever covered in my local media career, Flathead High School, Kalispell, Montana. We will discuss in greater length. But I saw that pop up on the timeline. Hey, Xander Schauffele started working with a different coach and added a little more thump, a little more yardage to his driver. So maybe Xander Bogaerts needs to see Xander Schauffele's swing coach and get into his exit velocity, all those things. And so we'll see. But that's my prediction. My prediction, Xander wins. Xander wins a major. Bogaerts big homer on Sunday, and it turns things around. But we will see. A lot to discuss. First things first, though, thanks to OG, the sponsor of the On Friar podcast. OG is a great place to watch whatever your game, whatever your sport of choices. NBA playoffs are going. Obviously, Padres, Dodgers. Now, not everybody likes going to these Padres Dodgers games because things can get a little wild in the stands. So if you're looking for a family friendly place where the beers are a little bit cheaper than Petco Park, probably a lot of bit cheaper than Petco Park, go to OG's, check out Padres Dodgers, maybe watch Xander Schauffele win at Quail Hollow this weekend. Always updating their menu, always refreshing their menu, great menu items, and fantastic beer lists as well. So thanks to OGs and all they do for the On Friar podcast. Without further ado, the welcome music. It's the On Fire podcast brought to you by NBC7. He is Derek Togerson. I am Darnay Tripp, joining you in our regular Thursday afternoon time slot. We had a bonus pod for you if you missed it earlier this week. Dropped it Monday, discussing the Luis Suarez move, first impressions from the prolific hitter from what we saw over the weekend in Arizona, as well as some of the pitching issues with Joe Musgrove going down and kind of the situation there. Very much still worth your listen a few days later if you haven't had a chance to check that out. Few different things to discuss from the last few days. Again, what we've seen, more bullpen issues, but 2 of 3 against Chicago, a lot to like there. And so kind of a mixed bag. And I think that's kind of the theme of this podcast, a mixed bag, some good, some bad. That's kind of felt like the season to this point. There's been some lulls, a 5-game losing streak, but they usually seem to they've gotten themselves out of it, gone on a little run, won some big series, had the series at Dodger Stadium. Dylan Cease has been incredible, but other guys kind of up and down. Lineup for the most part been much better, but Bogarts is down. Ha-seong Kim, kind of a slow start to the season, although he's had some moments. So I think that's going to be kind of the theme of the podcast. And Derek, I'll leave it up to you where you want to go to start, because as we teased, we mentioned the piece that you just posted on the Sports Wrap page, NBC7.com, just discussing what we've learned so far from the Padres. And, we want to direct people. We want to get that, the web traffic it should, so we don't want to give everybody the whole thing.
Give us page views, please.
We need the clicks.
Anything. We just want page views. Do it all. Leave it on there. Click on something, go make dinner, come back, click on something, go do the dishes, come back, click on something, go get dessert. Get the
Derek, your story did incredible numbers. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, we fooled people into doing that, and they, for some reason, listen. No, it's we'll start with a positive, right? I mean, Dylan Cease, holy crap, dude! Yeah, that dude has been phenomenal, and his numbers to start the year look a lot like Blake Snell's numbers to end the year, and yet, I'll say it again, Dylan Cease is still much more fun pitcher to watch. He's out there, he's dealing, he's moving fast, and what he was able to do, Yu Darvish 5 innings, Padres bullpen needed some help. Randy Vasquez 4 1/3 innings, Padres bullpen needed some help. Matt Waldron did not throw well in his previous start. Padres bullpen needing some help. So here comes Dylan Cease. So buddy, we need you. We need something out of you today. And what's he do? He goes out there and fires 7 innings, shutout, strikes out 12, went off his career high. I mean, he knew what his team needed. And he went out and he did it against a very good Cubs lineup that's been pretty good at home this year. When you've got a guy who understands the situation and then takes his game and elevates it at exactly the right time, that's a special ball player. So what we're seeing from Dylan Cease right now is absolutely incredible. And go ahead and put him in the All-Star game right now, along with Robert Suarez, who I'm sure we'll talk about a little later, because I got some him versus Josh Hader thoughts. But man, what Dylan Cease has already meant to this club right now, that trade that AJ Preller made might go down as one of the best in San Diego Padres history.
Yes, he's been phenomenal. And you see him come out of the 6. I think he was around 92, 93 pitches. And you're so kind of conditioned to think, okay, maybe that's it for him. Are they going to push it past 100? And he's a guy that's obviously thrown more than 100. It's not like, but that's just kind of this day and age, how it is. And you make the Blake Snell comparison. When he gets that point, I'm sure there are instances where he went back out there, but then you wonder if it's going to be a Blake Snell type inning where he walks a guy and you're lucky to get 6 1/3, 6 2/3, because all of a sudden he's thrown 115 pitches.
And you got a reliever coming in with the tying run at the plate, right?
Yeah, and you end up in kind of a wonky situation. Let's see. He maxed out previously at 110, had 3 straight starts where he was at 100 or better, and Wednesday 113, a season high. And he's a guy that clearly wants to do it, and there was I can't remember if it was against I think it was against Milwaukee, where he kind of motioned to the dugout at one point and like, no, don't come get me.
I got this. Yeah.
I can't remember if it was in the 6th or the 7th, but he's like, no, I'm going to finish this off. And he has that confidence. He has that determination. And you see it in both instances where he's out there and he does not want to be taken out. And he lets you know. And then he did his part. He got out of it with no stress whatsoever. And then a situation like yesterday where he gets to 93 and you're like, okay, clearly, you know, we're pushing 100, but this is a guy that we can go back out there and he understands the situation. And he's been accountable to it to this point, and it's really, really impressive. He pitches with a very quiet confidence. He's kind of got like, it's like he's got a swagger, but not in like the typical, like, you know, shout out to Pitching Ninja K Strut kind of way.
It's swagger, but not bravado.
Yeah, that's well said. Swagger, but not bravado. There's just this quiet confidence when he's out there, and
he's not Trevor Bauer, right?
Yeah, and a command and a control. Thank goodness he's not Trevor Bauer.
Seriously, good. We don't need any more Trevor Bauers anywhere.
He's been phenomenal, and I thought something kind of crazy yesterday. You can tell me if it's crazy, but I thought this yesterday when he's just kind of cruising along and has a Dylan Cease type of start, 12 strikeouts, 1 hit over 7 innings. There was, I think the Padres, somebody posted that there's like just a handful of guys who have put up those numbers like in club history, 1 or fewer hits with 12 strikeouts over 7 innings. And again, this is having seen Joe Musgrove throw a no-hitter, Joe Musgrove be an all-star, Yu Darvish a couple seasons ago, like automatic quality starts. Blake Snell obviously win a Cy Young. We've seen high-level pitching. Last night, I thought Dylan Cease might be the best pitcher I've seen with the Padres, or at least has the potential to be that if he continues doing what he's done this season. Am I crazy? I mean, I just go back to 2019, you know, but in this era of Padres baseball, that thought kind of crept into my mind. Like, there's been some really good arms. This guy might be the best.
Yeah, during that time, since 2019, I would say that's not in any way crazy. That he's been just that good. He has been, I mean, not only good, he's basically got one. The first start of the year, it's all wonky because you're going to Korea, come back you kind of throw that one off out of the books. He didn't make it through 5 innings. Since then, he's had one start that could be considered subpar. Everything else has been tremendous. I was actually thinking the last time I saw a dude be this dominant and this much of a bulldog and this fun to watch was Jake Peavy. We're talking like 2007 Cy Young, win the Triple Crown in the National League level Jake Peavy. He kind of reminds me of that, where just the stuff is incredible. He's out there just attacking everybody he can find. And you're right with the swag kind of thing. Like, he's out there, it's almost unnerving how calm he is. Like, he's the guy in the bar who you don't want to mess with because you start mouthing off and he goes outside. You're like, oh crap, I picked the wrong dude. You want the guy. I was like, yeah, let's go, trying to talk you out of it. Cease is just like, I'll meet you outside. And that's when you go, I have made a grave error in judgment. That's what Dylan Cease kind of reminds me of, where he's just like, okay, you can step into that box. You're not going to have a good time. And I love that about him.
You make a good point. Like, his numbers, as great as they are a little bit skewed because it's still early in the season, and he had a solid, certainly fine, but not Dylan Cease level start to begin his season. If you get rid of that, 7 appearances, 44 2/3 pitched, 54 strikeouts during that stretch, a 2.01 ERA, opponents hitting 128, 421 opposing OPS. That
one subpar start, by the way, was against the Phillies at Petco Park, and the Phillies is like their West Coast vacation home is Petco Park. And by the way, they were the hottest team in baseball at the time.
Yeah, he's given up 2 homers in that time. And, you know, remember, we spoke with Ryan McGuffey, who covered him with the White Sox like the day after the trade or whenever it was.
Ryan was great. Yeah.
Ryan was great. And if you want to learn more about Dylan Cease and who he was coming in, go back and listen to that episode because tons of insight. But the one thing he said was, like, kind of the last big step for him is to go deeper in games more consistently. And I went back, and he was the guy that averaged, you know, 5 or 5.5 or so innings pitched, you know, through his Cy Young caliber season in 2022. This is the first year that he is above 6 innings pitched. And again, if you eliminate that first start, we went 4 2/3. He's at about 6 1/3 innings per start. He's gone 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 6 2/3, 7. And so he seems to have, again, to this point, just a month and a half into the season, has taken that next step in his progression of, okay, I got nasty stuff, I'm lights out, all of that. But you can count on me. I'm not just going to be lights out for 5 1/3, 5 2/3. I'm going to be lights out for 6, in a lot of cases 7, which is huge, especially considering something that you had already hinted at, some of the bullpen issues, which I know we'll discuss later on in this pod.
And you know what he's got that's really, really encouraging? He's only got 16 walks. And he's only hit one hitter. Last year, he hit 9 guys and issued 79 walks. And he's already this year almost a third of the way to his inning total from last year. He threw 177 innings last year. This year is at 49 1/3. He's only got 16 walks. Last year in 177 innings, he had 79 walks and hit 9 dudes. This year, it's 16 walks and 1 hit by pitch. It was a 3-to-1 ratio. It's now about almost 4-to-1 ratio. He is now taken all of his great stuff and he's harnessing it in the strike zone more often. And that probably is the most encouraging thing. And of course, the reason probably that he's going deeper into games, he's not wasting so many pitches on putting guys on base for free. It's been incredible to see what he's done this year. And again, it was Ruben Niebla who said, hey, listen, Snell, don't worry about the walks. Just you be you. We're going to stop trying to tell you what to do. You have to be yourself. So it was like, we know this organization is okay with walks. And yet Dylan Cease comes in, all of a sudden he starts walking less. So I don't know what Ruben has told him. I'll have to try and ask him that tomorrow. But whatever it is working. And Dylan Cease is even better now than he has ever been at any point in his career. And that is saying something.
Yeah, his ERA plus is 179, which is 1 point below what it was his Cy Young finalist season, 180 in 2022. And pumping.
I don't see a reason he can't do this most of the year. Like he'll have 3 or 4. He'll have a couple more bad starts. Everyone has to have some bad starts, but this is going to be what we get the majority of the time with him.
And maybe that's what it was that made it feel like, okay, this guy might just be on a different level. Is it just seems just like standard, ho hum. This is just what he does. Yeah. It doesn't feel like this is an out of body experience or he's pitching out of his mind. It just seems to be standard operating procedure, which is nuts. Also nuts. 99 on pitches like 101 and 104 yesterday. 99, which I don't know if we knew that was necessarily in there, much less at that stage in the game. It's wild.
Well, again, we knew the velocity thing is what it is. I didn't know he could hit that, period. You've seen him 97 a couple times, 98. I wasn't aware he could hit 99, but I mean, velocity is what velocity is. If you're at pitch 1, I always chuckle when people go, 120th pitch was 98 miles an hour. Well, yeah, that's what you throw. Velocity doesn't go away when you get tired. Command and control, where you put it, is what goes away when you get tired. So the fact he was throwing that and getting guys out, that's the impressive part.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's been awesome. He's been as advertised and then some. And man, I mean, tip of the cap to AJ, pulling off that deal and the Luis Suarez deal. And as I mentioned on Monday, just hope one or both these guys are still around past 2025. And if not, hopefully do something significant between now and then to quell any concerns about okay, what do we give up? What are we missing now that we're a little bit further down the road? But that's a conversation for another day. Anything else from that piece? You mentioned the good. Is there one maybe negative? Should we just go into Xander Bogaerts right now?
Yeah, just go into Xander right now. Because as you said, one Xander is going to be hitting bombs this weekend. It's not the one putting on pinstripes.
Unless Shoffley has a different wardrobe that we don't know about.
This is true, yes.
But yes, it is, it has been concerning. It continues to be concerning. I pulled up his Fangraphs page and I'll do that again here in a second. Just from, comparing some of the hard hit numbers and underlying stuff to previous seasons. And it's about as down as you would expect. and it continues to be baffling. There was part of me that was like, had a 7-game hitting streak, multiple hits Monday for the first time kind of during that stretch. But, the extra base, obviously, no power, no home runs during that stretch, a handful of doubles. So even though he was hitting the ball well, it was like 1 hit per game, no slug, OPS still low. But you're like, okay, he's at least contributing, he's making some things happen, he's
He's
involved. And
turning
so
to Rafael Belliard.
that was good to see, but it's just not what you expect from a guy with his accomplishments and certainly with his contract.
Yeah, I'm telling you, even if he wasn't on a $280 million contract, these would not be acceptable numbers. I mean, an OPS below 600 is 40 games in, and he's playing every day, and he's getting a ton of at-bats. He started the year as a leadoff hitter. He's dropped all the way down to 6-7 in the lineup, and that might even be too high for him, as Jack Samara and Luis Campusano probably both deserve results-based to be ahead of him. It's incredible how far he has fallen and just how clueless he looks at the plate. And what's odd is I see him at Petco Park in the batting cage. He's there before anybody else is. He's working his tail off to try and get out of this. So it's not like he got paid and stopped caring. That has nothing to do with this. He is still busting his ass to try and figure this thing out. It's just not working. And I don't know if he needs to go back to his old Red Sox hitting coaches, or I don't know what the deal is. He is lost, completely lost at the play. I mean, at this point, fake an injury and put him on the IL for 10 days. Give him a break mentally. Have him go work on backfields somewhere. Have him go over to the Morse High School and just kick it and just hit batting practice for a while. I don't know what it's going to take, because he's tried a bunch of stuff and literally nothing has worked. And he's moving terribly at second base. And it's not just now a position change. It's just he looks like he's uncomfortable running around. It's the strangest thing.
It's even like his WRC plus last year was 120, which when you think about last season, you think, okay, that wasn't a 120 guy. But really good first month, really, really good last month. And
the highs were very high with him.
The highs were very high, and maybe that's what gives me hope. It's like, okay, that should still be in there. We saw it just in September. That was only, 9-10 months ago or whatever it is at this point. You would think it's still, he's still capable of doing that, even if it's just for stretches. Like, you're not going to see that the entire year, but you would think at points, that would emerge. WRC plus of 68 to this point in the season, and the only Padres hitter, I believe, below 100, or starter, I should say, below 100. Of all the regulars, ha-seong Kim's at like 101, something like that. Jackson Merrill like 104. Everybody else, more comfortably above 100. He's the only regular below, league average replacement level, and he's 32 points below. So not particularly close. Looking at Fangraphs numbers compared to his career, obviously we're not super concerned about like walk rate, strikeouts. Those haven't necessarily been the issue. That stuff is kind of close to career average. Career average 289, he's hitting 213. On base from 353 to 269, slug 452 to 290, slugged 440 last year, slugged 493 in 2021. 555 in 2019. OPS 560. It was 939 in 2019. 833 in 2022. You take that. I mean, you got a second baseman with a 830 slug on this team.
Oh, I'd kill for that.
ISO 077, which of course kind of hones in on power numbers. And yeah, like 2021, like 2019, his ISO was I lost myself on this page, 246. So it gives you some context. Career average 163, 077. I could go on, but
Please don't.
That's
it's depressing enough as it is.
Hard hit rate. Career 37, 24.6 this year.
Yeah, that's bad. That's the swing doesn't look like it's changed. his strikeout numbers are up a little bit, but I think that's more because he's getting into a lot more 2-strike counts. Because I can't tell you how many times, and we've talked about this on this very podcast, Darnay, how many times he has missed mistakes. And by the way, he's only hitting 200 against fastballs this year. Xander Bogaerts used to feast on fastballs, and he's a fastball hitter. He's always been that, and he can't even hit something that he knows is coming. And oh, by the way, teams have caught on and they're throwing him more fastballs. He got a higher percentage of fastballs he's seen this year than any other time in the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, since like early in his career when everyone challenges you with fastballs to see if you can handle it or not. It's incredible that he's missing the pitches that he usually destroys. And like I've seen fastball, thigh high, middle in, and he's fouling it off. So that would be a situation where, okay, well, now he's at the mercy of the slider away and he's done because the pitch he usually lines off the wall for a double is now a foul ball, becomes a strike. And now that's adding to the strikeout rate being slightly higher. He's missing on pitches he should be crushing. And I don't understand why that is. I don't know if his hands are in the wrong place, if his swing path is messed up, if his timing is messed up. I can't. Usually you could tell like Jackson Merrill was having problems, right? You started to see his front half was starting to drift open in his stance. He was kind of rolling over everything inside and popping up everything the other way, right? Kind of flicking at it. So then in the Arizona series, after a day off, you saw his front hip was back, cocked more toward the pitcher. That was helping him load and throw the hands better. He has a great series in Arizona, right? Just little things. In the course of the year, you're going to feel your body. Your body will move. You're just not going to feel it. It'll start to drift open a little bit here, and that's where hitting coaches and film work, video work, show you what you were doing and what you're not doing. Now, real quick, bam, put your hit back. There it is. He's back to where it is. Bogarts is all over the place. I don't know I can't see anything that he's doing wrong. It looks different with this swing. I am completely flummoxed.
4-seam fastball run value. Now run value just kind of gives you an idea of like how effective a player is against a certain pitch. 22. On the Savant page, it is a dark red, which means good. Very, very good. A 22 run value against 4-seamers in 2019. He's at 2 this season. What seems especially concerning.
He went 22 to 2.
Is the sinker.
Which is classified as a fastball on that page.
2021 against the sinker, 10 run value. It was 5 in 2022. -4 against the sinker last year, -5 against the sinker this year. He's hitting 143 against that pitch so far this season, compared to like 344 in 2019.
That sucks. That's not acceptable for a guy who's going to be hitting in a lineup with all these guys around him and who has the track record he is. That is unacceptable.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty stinking bad. I'm just kind of glossing the page. Oh, what did jump out to me is, for his career, he's gone oppo about a quarter of the time. You look through his Boston numbers, he's right around like 23, 25, some cases higher, 15% this year. So he's using less of the field this season. Soft contact, pretty much the same. Way more medium contact, not a whole lot of hard contact. For his career, 32.6 hard contact this year, 22. For his career, about 50% medium contact this year, 60%. Again, the soft contact numbers are basically identical, which somewhat mirrors the Padres as a whole. While they have been improved offensively, not a whole lot of soft, but not a whole lot of hard contact either. A lot of medium contact. Their batted ball profile isn't incredible.
They're scoring a lot of runs though.
But they're managed to score a lot of runs.
They're top tier of the league in runs scored.
They're stringing them together. They're somewhere in the top 10, I want to say, in homers, and so they are much improved from last year, even if that kind of underlying metric doesn't necessarily grab you.
Okay, so all those numbers made my eyes glaze over just a little bit. But why?
Sorry about that.
Why?
And
Why is it happening? That's what we can't figure. That's what I can't figure out. The numbers and the eyeball test are lining up, but what's causing this? And it's like I can't see a mechanical thing. I
yeah.
can't see a mental thing. I can't see a lack of effort thing. I can't. It doesn't make sense, which is why I'm really kind of fearful that he just got old overnight. And I don't know why that would be, because the guy keeps himself in tremendous shape.
He doesn't look old. He looks like he's a very fit, in shape,
Yeah.
athletic dude.
We see him in the clubhouse. I mean, he's put together. He's a big, strong dude who works on himself and keeps himself in very good shape. And it's just gone.
Yeah. I obviously don't have an answer for you. And what those numbers do is paint a very, very concerning picture. I think there is the part of me that saw the first month of last year and the last month of last year and think, okay, that's got to be in there. Is it just a matter of like being, as well as anybody, like how narrow the margins are in the sport of baseball? Is it just being consistently a fraction off, and something is going to click and he's going to get, in the right place, set up the right way, whatever it is. He messed around with it. I remember he talked about it, threw in a toe tap in one at bat just out of nowhere, and it like laced a double or something like that.
He throws a timing step. Oh, where did that come from?
Yeah, so. I think if I'm gonna be the optimist, it's all that's still in there, and this isn't a guy that just all of a sudden showed up out of shape and lazy and isn't putting the work in. I gotta think at some point something's gonna click and he's gonna have a stretch. Like, even if it's not like a September stretch, like an April of last year stretch, where you remember, like we were watching the first couple weeks of the season, you're like, hey, Red Sox look kind of dumb right now.
Yep.
They should have offered a little bit more money or a lot of bit more money. Like, wow, their loss. How good do the Padres have it? And then Spencer Strider hit him on the wrist or whatever it was, and things kind of went south. I gotta think that that's going to happen for this team at some point. And when it does, they're going to be scary.
Yeah, I'd love to believe that, right? I hope I'm wrong. What's taking so long? Like that would be awesome. And if you get Xander Bogaerts hitting, because Manny Machado is going to continue to get better. He's going to round into form. You got to think that Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to eventually stop hunting home runs all the time and go back to being the 285 hitter who just lets the game come to him naturally. Jake Cronenworth has shown that this is, again, not a small sample size anymore. We've got the old Jake back. And it is a fantastic thing to see. And God bless him for working his way back and making some mechanical changes, raising his hands, getting his elbow up a little bit so he's not dipping under everything like he was last year. Well done, Jake. Jackson Merrill is going to keep on getting. He's a 21-year-old. He just turned 21. He's going to continue getting better. Luis Campusano looks like he is what he is behind the plate and at the plate. I'm digging the length of this lineup, and we haven't even mentioned Jurickson Profar's name yet, who leads them in pretty much every offensive category statistically. And for some inexplicable reason, when he comes to the Padres, he turns into Mickey Mantle. I don't know what the deal is, but it's awesome to see it. Give him a lifetime contract. Right? He's just let him stay here as long as he wants to stay here. Because I looked it up, and this is part of that piece I did as well. Jurickson Profar is better for this team than Juan Soto is. And the winning percentage bears that out. With Juan Soto, they had a 5.11 winning percentage. In games they've had Jurickson Profar, they have a 5.41 winning percentage. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that is. It just is. And they are a better team, a better cohesive units when they have Jurickson Profar playing left field. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't think I want to know why. I just want to enjoy what is right now.
Vibes above replacement, which is
Mhm.
something that Padres fans have
Leads the
enjoyed.
world in vibe and VAR, vibes above
Just
replacement, and
it's
WVAR, weighted vibes above replacement.
weighted expected VAR. All right, so that's your. We'll say that's between Cease and Xander, like your biggest source of optimism, your biggest source of concern, which I pitched to fans after yesterday's win, which got them to an even 2020 at essentially the quarter point of the season. Um, and here's kind of a smattering of what I got back. I tried to kind of narrow into some of the responses that seem to be the most common, kind of the most common sentiment amongst fans. Matthew says most optimistic about the offense, and Derek, feel free to just kind of chime in with your thoughts if anything sparks something for you. Most optimistic about the offense hitting with runners in scoring position. Least optimistic about the fifth starter and X's start to the year, which we obviously just discussed in great length.
Yeah, the offense, boy, I don't know what changed. Maybe it's Mike Schilt. Maybe it's having actual hitting instructors. Maybe it's the difference with the length and the difference of the length in the lineup. But yes, absolutely, runners in scoring position has been night and day. And this is the day, whereas it was basically 3 a.m. all year last year. But love what they're doing with that. Matt Waldron is a guy who the knuckleball is going to struggle sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a pitch that's hard to get down consistently. When we saw it against the Dodgers, he was fantastic. At Coors Field, he was fantastic. And then against the Phillies, if it's moving too much, it's not going to work that way. Against the Diamondbacks, if it's moving too much, it's not going to be effective. He's a guy who you're going to have to take it with a grain of salt until somebody else rips that fifth starter spot away from him. Because when it's effective, it's great. But you got to anticipate like 40% or so of the time, it's not going to be great. And that's the risk you run with a knuckleballer.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I think I like them giving Waldron some leash because, like you said, he's shown it. It's not like it's been a disaster from one start to the next. And again, that's kind of the nature of the fifth starter. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. Good on Randy Vasquez, gave them a solid, what was it, 4 1/3, 4 2/3 against the Cubs. Did what he needed to do. Obviously, you'd like a little bit of length, but in a guy in that spot, when he holds them to 1 run on a Cody Bellinger homer with 6 strikeouts, you like what he showed, and he's certainly shown well with the opportunities that he's been given. Back to the offensive side of things, runners in scoring position, obviously they were worst or second worst in the league last year. That is no longer the case this year. If you brought an out to with runners on, and you might fall out of your seat, they've got the highest WRC plus in baseball with runners on base of 138.
They what?
138 WRC plus with runners on base.
Okay, that's good.
And the second most homers, trailing by 1 to the Yankees with runners on base. They've got 25 of them right there with the Phillies. So runners in scoring position, they're like top 5, something like that. They're in the neighborhood. They've been really good. Runners on base, period. They've been super, super productive, which is a far cry from last year. And there's been plenty of games where, even games that they've won, where they've left plenty of meat in the bone. What was it? I think it was the Tuesday loss to the Cubs where they were like 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, 8 left on. So it did not bear itself out in that case.
Imanaga, sometimes you got an outlier.
Imanaga's
really
good. Really, really good. So yeah, even with games like that, it's not been perfect, but they are offensively the best team in baseball with runners on base, which did not see coming.
No, it did not at all. And it's fantastic that they've done that. And again, through 25% of the season, you keep doing that. And now this team believes that this is what and who they are. So that's not your small sample size. That is, now they have some belief up and down that lineup, even coming off the bench. I mean, how great was it when Schilte against Imanaga in the 8th inning says, "Hey, Luis, I know it's a rough lefty. I know I tried to give you a day off because it's been a whirlwind for you.
Yeah.
Can you get out there and give me something?" And Luis Suarez goes out there and singles to lead off, and Jurickson Profar follows with a bomb. Yeah. It's just the way that this team is taking advantage of situations in a way they never would have last year is fantastic.
No doubt. David says, optimistic that the team will get better. Most concerned about Padres fans' inability to emotionally regulate themselves through games. I
Well,
think
that's just sports fans.
that'll
And
be.
it's all of us, literally all of us.
I don't think there's anything we can do about that. Gabe says, should be extremely optimistic after trading for a rise, improve the team drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly improve the lineup.
No coincidence. They go on the road and win 2 straight series
and score 20 runs. Well, actually, the Friday they didn't have a rise, but maybe it was the emotional boost of trading for Luis Arraez to come out and score with 13 runs or whatever it was.
Oh, no question. No question.
Back-to-back series wins against, Arizona, obviously a team that went to the World Series and team that you expect to contend, or at least going into the season out of the NL West for a playoff spot. And the Cubs were like 21-14 going into that series. Like you said, scored a bunch of runs, and they managed to outduel them.
Oh, and very important, by the way, and this is something we've never really had to say in baseball before. Very important to win that series in Chicago, because there no longer is the 1-game playoff for the wild card and things. It's season record head to head. And that means the Padres now own the season record, the season series against the Cubs. They won both series, so 4-2. So if they're in that Chicago Cubs, wild card, you get down to the end of the year, they're probably going to be all bunched right there. They now have the tiebreak on that team. So you can knock one of those out of the way. It's weird to have to think about that in May, but that was an incredibly important series for them to win this early on.
Cole says, I am most optimistic about our offense continuing to be a positive and star bats continually getting better. I am most concerned about Musgrove's health.
That's legit. Elbows, man. If it was like maybe like the shoulder going, okay, maybe it's a little bit fatigued, whatever it is. But when you got an elbow, it's
yeah.
And they say it's triceps tendonitis. You hope that truly is all that it is, and it's not something that's a precursor or forebearer of something else more sinister. I'm worried about. I am legitimately worried about Joe.
Preller was on with Darren Smith this afternoon, and he never seems too concerned about anything. So there was nothing said that at least that I heard or picked up on that was greater cause for concern, and made it sound like they're just looking out for the guy and not wanting to push him too much. So hopefully it is just like they said, kind of a Yu Darvish situation. He comes back and hey, 10 innings. What is it? 10 scoreless innings, or did he get
10 shutout? Yeah,
10 shutout innings. Yeah, 5 each way, and so that's been really good to see. Free and clear, optimistic along lineup, concerned bullpen and Bogarts. We haven't touched on the bullpen yet. Jeremiah, the 6 through 8 innings. That was one common thread, and not a coincidence that it comes after that Tuesday loss where Enel De Los Santos comes in. They had. Yeah, the Profar homer puts him up 2-1. Yuki walks the first batter.
That killed me.
I think is the third straight. I looked it up. I want to say it's the third straight appearance of his where he walked the first guy that he faced. That guy scores, tie game. De Los Santos gets him out of that inning and then gives up, or might have been an inning later, but then gives up the walk off on the first pitch to Michael Busch.
The leadoff walks kill me. The absolute I turned to my wife and I said, they just lost this game, because leadoff walks when you're in a close game, right after you take a dramatic lead and all the momentum and emotion is on your side, the first thing your guy does is put the tying run on base. Leadoff walks almost always in major situations come around to score. I mean, I don't know the numbers on that. It's probably not almost always. It feels like it's almost always. You give up a double, whatever. but it's the walk. The walk is what sets the mental tone for everything. Because we got the momentum. Go attack these guys. We got you. Let the defense come out and do something, and you put a guy on for free. It's like, oh my God, why?
Yeah.
The leadoff walks kill me. Absolutely kill. I hate leadoff walks with a passion. It's that's when it's a cardinal sin. You can't do that. You just can't do that, because you got to get it to Suarez. Because I mean, if we want to talk about, can we talk about a positive and how freaking good Robert Suarez has been?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's get to that next. I did want to say And I don't know if you saw this on and I don't want to spend too much time on this, so I'll let you give me a something or nothing on this. Uh, they wanted, and Schultz said after this game, they wanted to bring Suarez in with the lead, bottom half, close out the game. They didn't want to bring him in to a tie game, and then it's still a tie game, and they use that bullet, and then they're kind of in a tough spot. So they didn't have many great options at that point when they turned to De Los Santos, got him out of the eighth, got one out, and then first pitch of the ninth, Michael Busch ends the game. Ryan Phillips on Twitter pointed out, like, hey, this has happened before. It happened the night before with De Los Santos. Out of curiosity, I looked it up. Last Tuesday, 2 Tuesdays ago, De Los Santos got the last out of the sixth, gave up a homer to the first and third batters he faced in the seventh. Monday, De Los Santos gets the last out of the sixth, gives up a homer to the second batter he faced in the seventh. On Tuesday, De Los Santos got the last out of the eighth, gave up a homer on the first pitch of the ninth. He's allowed 4 homers all season. Those are the 4 homers. They've all come in situations where he's closed out one inning and started the other. Now, he's pitched in those situations before and not given up homers. And Chris Reed on Twitter was quick to point out, like, those are the first times it's happened to him in over a year. This hasn't been a trend, but it is a trend now in the last week. And maybe they're in a situation where they're like, are we going to throw Johnny Brito out there in a leverage situation when he just gave up 3 runs? He has been good. He had a stretch, like 11 inning scoreless stretch or something like that. But probably felt more confident in Eniel closing out 1 inning. Probably weren't going to ask Yuki to get Dansby Swanson there. You could have turned to Brito maybe to close out that inning, then go to De Los Santos. I don't know. Maybe there just weren't good options, but the De Los Santos thing became a bit of a talker because that situation where he's going down and coming back up last week hasn't been good for him.
Yeah, getting up and down has been a problem. And sometimes that happens. You hear it talked about all the way back in spring training. You got to see how these guys get up and down. It was when Joe was kind of struggling to get out of an inning in a Cactus League start. Like, we got to getting him up and down as we started putting him on the back fields, so we can start working his way through that.
Yeah, and they simulate that in some of these starts, right? Like, throw 20 pitches, sit down.
Sit down for 10 minutes, come back out. Right.
Yeah. Throw 15 pitches, sit down. Throw 17 pitches, sit down.
Then you got to go through your warm up routine again. Yada yada yada. I'd like to say it's not a trend. I can't for sure tell you it's not a trend, because when it happens in such quick succession like that, there's something going on there. Again, I doubt it's mechanical. Something would tell me it's mental, or something would tell me that there's a book out on him somewhere. Whereas, can you see what type of pitch and what location are these home runs being hit on? Does he have a tendency to, when he comes out again, it's first pitch fastball, he's going to try and get ahead of you. So they're just hunting fastballs and getting pitches in places that they're finding. And big league hitters will hit a fastball if they know it's coming. Sure. It could be he's got a tendency now. He's almost not tipping a pitch physically, but he's got a book on when he goes up and down, this is what's coming, because this is what he's always done. It could be as simple as that. He has to. And I don't know if this is the case because I haven't looked at the pitch log, but if he's throwing a first pitch changeup every time. I'm doing that
right now.
Yeah. If he's until you get there. If he's got a first pitch changeup every time and they know the changeup is coming, I mean, even Deion Sanders said this year, like, listen, if you know a play is coming in football, you still got to stop it. If I know what pitch is coming in baseball, I got you. So if hitters know, more often than not, they're going to be able to put a charge into one.
Yeah, and some of these situations are different because they didn't necessarily homer off, the first pitch he threw. Well, he throws 4-seamers. First pitch is always a 4-seamer. Because when Michael Busch, 93, middle-ish of the zone, probably like belt high or so. First pitch of the 7th inning, pretty much the same spot, 95 4-seamer. Didn't give up a homer that at bat, gave up a homer. Yan Gomes the next at bat on a slider. So different story. But you mentioned, what does he tend to throw in that situation? Candelario hit a homer off a slider later in the at bat, but the first 3 pitches he saw were 4-seam fastballs 93 or so miles per hour, located roughly the same spot. You figured it out, Derek. There you go. You got to the bottom of it. Daniel De Los Santos, when he sits down and comes back up, he's going to groove a 93, 94 mile per hour fastball, middle of the plate, about belt high.
So we just figured this out just now. Someone go tell Haniel this, and he'll be just fine. Start off throw a sweeper. I don't even know if he throws a sweeper. Throw something different. throw a forkball.
Throw a splitter.
Get Waldron's knuckleball. Just do something different to start off all these innings when you have to go up and down like that, and you should be fine.
Okay. Two last points. A quick answer on this one, then we can gush about Suarez for a minute and wrap it up. Larger concerns about the bullpen, because some of the answers that I got yesterday were bullpen related. Pitchers not named Suarez or Cease. The pen, go on and on. There seems and there's some chatter along with that, like there aren't defined enough roles for Mike Schilt, and he's kind of just like freewheeling it, figuring it out as they go. One thing we heard Bo Mel say all the time is work backwards. He had defined roles for his guys as best as he could, and it seems a little bit less consistent one guy to the next. Maybe it's because like Peralta, you'd figure would be the eighth inning guy, hasn't necessarily been awesome. Cosgrove, kind of similar situation, and he's on the IL now, right? Isn't he? I don't know with what. Do I have that wrong? I feel like I haven't seen Tom Cosgrove in a long time.
Well, he got AAA.
Oh, okay, there we go. That's what it is. Yeah, because he hasn't been very good. So maybe that has something to do with it, but that's something that people have talked about. Like the roles in the pen aren't quite as defined, and maybe that contributes to this.
Yeah, and I asked Mike Schilt about this actually specifically, and he's gone more matchup based, which is the other way of using your bullpen, right? You're going to go, you got two tough lefties and a righty here. Give me one of my lefties. Here comes Adrian Morejon, whatever it may be. Schilt said he loves it when guys have defined roles. That's why you have a closer. He would love if somebody would go out and rip that eighth inning spot, be our version of, how Heath Bell was before he took over after Trevor Hoffman left, or where Scott Linebrink was for Heath Bell. You got like, this is your eighth inning guy. This is it. End of discussion. How Robert Suarez was in 2022. Nobody's done that yet. So until somebody shows them that they're going to be that guy, it's going to continue to be matchup based.
There you go. Robert Suarez. He's super, super good.
Golly, only 6 pitchers in baseball right now average more on their fastball. And what's great is he's thrown 80% fastballs this year. He has not blown a save. He's got 2 5-out saves, 1 4-out save, and a 4-out win against the Dodgers. That last 5-out save that he just had, he threw 20 pitches. 20 pitches to get the 5 outs because he goes out there and attacks guys. I looked at what Josh Hader has done this year. He's got 6 outings this year of at least 20 pitches where he only got 3 outs. So the efficiency with what Suarez is doing this with is phenomenal. He scrapped his cutter. He scrapped his slider. He's throwing sinker occasionally, changeup occasionally, I think just for kicks, and then 80% four-seamers. Here it is. You can't hit it. And I love what he's doing with that.
Yeah. Expected average against 180 so far this season.
Yeah, I think there was 4 for 40 against that pitch this year, and only like 1 extra base hit. It's a double. The only home run he gave up is the only run that he gave up was on a changeup to Michael Conforto. He hasn't done the changeup very often since. He hasn't had to.
0.55 ERA so far, and you're right. Like exactly what's coming, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to hit it. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what he's been able to do to this point.
Simmons asked me the other day, can he keep doing this? And I'm like, well, 2 ways of looking at it. One, I think the only closer I can think of who only had 1 pitch who was successful was Mariano Rivera. And he's one of one. Like Robert Suarez is not Mariano. Nobody's Mariano Rivera. But then, so can he keep throwing it? Have success? Somebody's probably going to get it eventually. But the other part of it is we've seen his secondary stuff is nowhere near as good. So if you're a closer with that razor thin margin of error, why would you get beat on something that's not your best pitch?
Yeah.
So keep throwing it, dude. Keep throwing it till everybody proves they can hit it.
And, along the lines of the conversation with Daniel De Los Santos, like People know what's coming. The book is out on Robert Suarez. But
it's 99 versus 94 is they're
yeah.
two very different things.
It's just, the difference is he has a pitch or a combination of heaters that you guys just can't touch. And I joked after that second 5-out save, like, give him Josh Hader's money. And somebody's like, well, they did. I was like, no, they didn't give him half of Josh Hader's money. They gave him like 46 or whatever it was. Josh Hader got 95. And I didn't think, even aside from kind of the issues with Hader wanting to be used certain ways, it's like, we know the budget concerns with this team. They could never afford Josh Hader, even if they loved him in the clubhouse and he was willing to pitch in whatever situation, like, that was untenable. Even more so now that you took that leap. Again, to this point, it's still relatively early. I mean, how good does that look? Just saying, okay, you're our guy. We're happy to cut ties with this other guy. And you also happen to be a player that will literally do anything that is asked of you and excel at that. And that is one of the things that was missing with last year's team, and one of the things that you really appreciate about Robert Suarez.
Yeah, I will leave you with this. I've had 3 different guys in that clubhouse say to me almost the exact same phrasing. We really appreciate when a guy will do that.
Joe Musgrove said something like that.
The old guys.
Yes.
They say we really appreciate when a guy will do that.
Yeah, Musgrove said something along those lines, I think, after the first 5-out save or whatever, and it made the rounds as a shot at Josh Hader, and I'm sure that wasn't exactly what Musgrove, had in mind, but you can't help but digest that any other way.
Joe doesn't mince words.
It might have been. I didn't want to put that in Joe's mouth, but it might have been, because, it's been a stark contrast, and it's just like, made things easy when you get in those situations. How much do we see Bob Melvin stressing and gritting his teeth and trying to choose his words when asked about his closer usage in some of those situations last year? And you could tell he wanted to write a novel about what was going on, but could not. Mike Schill doesn't have to worry about that with Robert Suarez, which is nice. Hey, Dodgers this weekend. We even talk about that at all, but we'll talk about what happened. Maybe we'll do another bonus pod on Monday. We'll see how it goes after Xander Schauffele wins Wells Fargo and Xander Bogaerts hits a walk-off homer to take the series against the Dodgers on Sunday. That'd be fun.
I hope you're right on both counts.
Thanks, everybody.